Okay, so I'm here on the coast of Lake Michigan in the city of Chicago, getting ready to do some coding. Some rain came through earlier, but it seems to be clearing up. Boats are out on the lake now. The air show is supposed to be going on today, and sorry, I got distracted by one of my displays. But the air show's supposed to be going on today, and I suspect the rain earlier either canceled that or postponed that, but I assume they sent a number of people out. Maybe that'll pick up later, just a little delay. And if that does happen, hopefully I won't spill my coffee everywhere like I did yesterday. But just be prepared for some jets flying by, I guess. And with that caveat out of the way, I guess I'll get into coding. And yesterday, I finally moved away from playing around with test discovery, which I had spent the last 7 or 8, maybe 9 streams on, refactoring that to playing around with the diff algorithm. And I'll continue that, I guess, today. I don't necessarily have unlimited time like I've had the last couple streams, so I may keep it relatively light today. Sorry, and as I look at the time, I just want to make sure I have my phone silenced. Not that that stops me from looking at it. But before I get back into that, well, let's see what branch I'm on first. So I am on the diff branch. I noticed one thing I kind of messed up yesterday with, well, back in discovery. And I guess I'll just check out a working branch off of trunk. So one of the things I was trying to figure out how to do was, well, I have all these comments here about how to handle classes or files or directories that don't have any tests in them, but that are discovered as tests. So a class that the framework would discover as a test, but that has no test methods in it. Or similarly, a file that the framework discovers as a test, basically that's a PHP file that begins with the word test. Discovering a file like that, but then finding no actual tests in there. And I've had a long standing to do, what should I do in that situation? And I've decided show an error, because that just seems like a suspicious situation even if there's nothing actually wrong in it. But then, and showing an error also determined that, sorry, I have my stream quality thing up and it seems to be, maybe I just haven't been going long enough. It seems to be having a hard time figuring out if I'm having a good quality stream, but everything seems fine from OBS side. So if something's going wrong, I'm washing my hands of it. So I stopped myself mid-sentence. So once I started logging an error about empty tests, it turned out some of my tests were showing I was kind of spamming the error log because one of the reasons we may not discover tests is there was an error during discovery. So maybe there's a file that was supposed to have some tests in it, but something went wrong, parse error or whatever it was, that prevented any discovery from happening for that file. So we log that error, and then we come back and see, hey, we found no tests, and log another error. And the reason why we didn't find any tests was because of an error. So I was trying to figure out a nice way to handle, okay, let's not spam the user with error messages, especially spurious ones, because of some other error. And I think I had a nice solution where basically we have 3 possible return values for all our discovery cases here. If we find some tests, we'll return the actual tests, basically. If we don't, we'll return null. But if we don't find tests, and that was in conjunction with some other error, we'll return false. So the simple case here was the class test, because we don't really go any deeper. And as we iterate the class, we can just every method we basically find, we just can shove right into the class as a test, and then once we get to the bottom, we either are valid or not. And if we're valid and we have tests, then we're in good shape. If we're valid and we don't have tests, then we log an error. Otherwise, we're invalid, so we return false. But it gets slightly more complicated up at the higher levels if we're doing discovery on a file or a directory, because once we get sort of through the initial discovery process where we're discovering identifiers, keeping track of all the identifiers that we discover, then we have some validation, and then we come through, and now we can iterate through the tests and to see if we discover any tests. So we basically have two checks to see if we're valid. First, if we get to this point and we're valid, then we want to try and discover tests in classes, or I guess for functions that we don't have to discover them, we just add them to the list of tests. And then here's where we get back our result from discover class, and if we get a test, then we're fine, and if we get false back, then we know some error has happened, and we set valid to false after we've already checked valid. So now when we get down here, if we have some tests, okay, we return them. If we're valid, then we want to log an error. Result has already been set to null. All right, valid now could have changed because of this. So in this case, we want to do one last check. So if we get down here, we have no tests and we're not valid. So we want to set result equal to false and then return that. I guess there's maybe an argument to be made here. Well, not really. Because I see this, we're setting result to false twice here, but I think that's probably fine. But we want to set it to false here because, right, this is gonna, if we had some sort of error here and we've now said we're invalid, but we don't return that, we're gonna keep that spamming process going, right? We'll potentially, right, well, we won't log an error here, but we'll pass null up, and then everything up above us could potentially start saying, hey, no tests, no tests, no tests. Even though the result of that could be because of whatever error happened during discover class. And now the same thing is going to be the case in up here in discover directory. So after we basically do our directory discovery, and we get down to the bottom here and we get through validation. If we're valid, then we're going to try and discover tests in either trial directories or in any files that were found in that directory. So we get back the test. If we have one, we just add it to the dictionary of tests. If we don't, and it's because there was an error, then we want to set valid to false. So now the same thing here. If we have tests, we'll just return them. If we don't, but we're valid, we log an error, and we're going to return that null. Otherwise, right, again, if we get down here, we have no tests and we're invalid, we're going to set result equals to false, and then return that. So I think that is my only note there. Let's just run the old test suite stuff. And that looks fine. And I have some brunch bubbles with me today too, so I'm gonna stay well hydrated with water and coffee and bubbles, but my wine glass is leaving a ring. So let me just try and forestall any rings on my cheap IKEA desk here. And I suppose this is something I should update the changelog with too. So I don't know. I don't really have strong opinions about this changelog. I guess separating each bullet point with a space makes it a little bit clearer. I guess fixtures is probably a bad word because that could be confused with the actual concept of a fixture. So I guess we'll go with structures. What's my commit message here? Fix return. This is a problem with I guess version controls having to. Well, I guess I don't have to come up with a fancy, meaningful commit message here, but it seems like that's kind of the point. Plus, I also have to keep it within 50 characters, right? So fix the return value of just propagating. It's kind of like fix propagating errors during. Did I spell propagating right there? I feel like I didn't. Propagate. I mean, that's kind of what we did, right? If we got an error at a lower, some sort of error lower down, we want to pass that fact up. So I guess this will be our commit message, and I think I'll just merge this in the trunk right away. And push that up. And I'm going to push up. I don't know, I felt the need to switch to a different terminal. What do I have? What do I have up on the server right now? I do have diff up there. Because now I'm just going to rebase diff off of trunk, I think. So that looks fine to me. I think the other thing I decided to do is just merge, so I don't have to keep screwing around with keeping this GitHub actions synced. Because I'll just merge it in, right? Because so what is trunk has that. Wait, what did I just rebase? Oh, dot is, wait. I'm on the wrong. I just rebased trunk on trunk. Mass confusion here. Okay, what did I do? I feel like I may have massively screwed things up. Well, there we go. Shenanigans on a Sunday. Oh, well, dang it. So what do I have up on the server now? Well, this is one way to derail your coding session. Let me just go private here. So what is going on here? What branch am I on now? I am on trunk. So trunk should have. Oh, why is all that? Somehow all these diff commits got in here. Move. All right. So what happens if I move trunk to junk? We'll move trunk to junk. And then we'll check out branch trunk maybe. So let's just try out this help message here. Trunk. So now where are we? Refactor and cleanup. Okay. Trunk pushes to trunk, which I guess seems right. So what happens now? Okay, let's delete the junk. Yes, please get rid of the junk. Okay. Now GitHub Actions is all screwed up. And of course I screwed up GitHub. Usually, right, I check out a Rebase branch, so if anything horrible goes wrong during Rebase, I can just drop that branch and then go back to the original one. Of course, this time I didn't do that, so now I've got to clean up my mess with GitHub Actions. So let's just rebase this on trunk and oops, and let's actually reword this commit message. What is up on origin now? Is GitHub okay? Why is this saying? Oh, I guess it's just saying hits. For some reason, I thought that was referencing a branch up on origin. Okay, so let's merge that because that's really what I wanted to do. I just wanted to merge GitHub Actions in the trunk. Okay, let's delete GitHub Actions. Okay, everybody cross their fingers. Git push origin trunk. Did we bring it down Microsoft and we just bugged the next release of Windows maybe? Okay, so this is all going to run now. And we're going to fail in PHP 8.2, which means I'll get an email in a second. But that will be fine. That will be fine. So we've pulled ourselves back from the brink of destruction here, I think. Okay, so now with our fingers suitably singed after that exercise, let's check out a Rebase branch that is off of diff. Make sure that looks reasonable. And then let's rebase this off of trunk. Okay, I think 20 minutes later we're right back where we started. Which it could be worse, we could not be back where we started. But now we're gonna delete diff and we'll move this branch over to diff. And so there we go. Okay. That was not nearly as smooth as it could be, but sometimes things just take a few extra steps. Okay, so I can check off, all that means I can check off my first to-do here. And then on to the second to-do, which I'm going to have to stop saying this, I guess, about how good I normally am at managing my comments. Because so far I have forgotten in multiple streams to delete to-dos that I have done. And then yesterday I was staring at this, why are we doing a diff for unequal? Because if they're equal, right, then theoretically they shouldn't be different. But then I was like, oh, well, maybe because it's a loose comparison. So if it ends up being equal and you expect it to be unequal, maybe there was something catching you off guard. And I had all this written right up here, and I just did not, like, I saw the two comments and I just like willfully decided to not read them. And I guess that was because the comment was actually above this formatting here, basically in preparation for generating a diff, but I was looking right, where the diff actually happens. Although, I can sit here and justify it all day, but I guess sometimes people just don't want to be helped, including myself, I suppose. So I don't know, should I move that comment down so 6 months later I don't go through the same thing again? Or put them in both places? Or I could just, every line, I could copy this comment. Like, hey, read me. I don't know. I guess I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but I guess let's put it down there. But right, see, I had it up there because if we take out this diff, then there's no reason to do this sort. Because as I explained yesterday, if this is an array, if these are arrays and we do a loose comparison on them, PHP does not take into account, right? It does an index comparison, but it doesn't matter in which order those actual elements are in, as long as they have the same indexes and those indexes are the same value. So I guess I'll just leave it up there and maybe try and make a mental note in the future to actually read the comments that I leave for myself. So that is that to do. I guess I'll just, since we're having so much fun with JIT so far, I'll just commit that, because I'm probably going to squash all this down. Remove useless and pointless comment. That seems apt. Okay, so now with all that nonsense done, what am I actually going to do today? Especially having spent a half an hour on that. I figured that would be like 10 minutes at most. So I implemented doing diffs for like greater than and equal than, or greater than and less than comparisons. And in doing that, like I have a rough idea of what I want it to look, what I want that to look like. But in some of the tests yesterday, I was getting kind of surprising results. Well, I guess they weren't surprising. Diff was doing exactly what I was telling it should do. But the output we were getting from diff was not necessarily what one I guess would want. But then it's kind of like, well, this is a little bit weird doing a diff on like a greater than or less than, I guess mostly for composite values like arrays, because right, we're not necessarily testing that they're identical. We were testing that one is greater than the other, for instance. So if there are some elements in like two arrays that don't meet that criteria, but others do, then what do we show, right? Because the things that pass are not actually identical. So I think what we want to show is actual, what we actually have. But then I also left a note, which no, I didn't delete that one. About the PHP page where this is all handled. I wonder what the chances of getting this to open in the right window are. Okay, good, as it turns out. So what I may do, just because I'm not, even though I've teased everybody with the idea that I'm doing diffs, which I am, but I think what I may actually do is kind of work through what this table is saying and maybe just throw some tests in and sort of figure out if we're generating diffs that make sense for the type of comparisons we're now supporting. And so, because I feel like, right, I've only got like another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at this point, and writing tests and sorting that out can kind of find a way to suck up your time. So I think that is what I may do today. And I guess really, right, most of this is about how scalars convert. But what I really care about are sort of this stuff. And I guess we can look at some of this. Well, I really care about this, right? So this is interesting. Well, I guess that would show up. But see, like some of this stuff, how do we want this to be represented, and does it make sense what we're currently doing? And then these things seem contradictory. An object compared to anything is greater, and an array compared to anything is greater. So what happens if you compare an object to an array? Or does it matter if the object is first or second? Not that that's even a meaningful thing, but I guess that's worth throwing a test in for to see what that actually means. In objects, so this is saying, I guess what this is also saying is if you compare two objects, it supports equality and identity, but a less than or greater than is, well, undefined. So who knew PHP had undefined behavior? But I guess it does. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start. I know I've kind of been rambling, but I am going to take a quick break just to refill my water and some of my other beverages. So I'll be back. Well, I also have to use the bathroom. So not been a very productive stream, but it's also a Sunday, so there you go. But I'm going to take, I guess I'll make it like a 4-minute break. Okay, back in a few minutes. Okay, well, I can see I blew my 4-minute timer there. And I was surprised to discover my copy maker turned off, which I'm wondering if now if I did that manually last time I poured coffee, or if it's really been 2 hours since I made coffee. And now, I don't know if you can hear it on the mic, but I can hear the jets flying around, so it looks like they have kicked off the show, so I assume I will be getting buzzed here fairly shortly. Hopefully I won't panic like last time and just spill everything everywhere and flip my desk or something. But so I guess there's two ways I can do this. I can test diff directly, or I can sort of indirectly test diff by testing the assertion operators. And I'm not sure really what I want to do there. I'm tempted to test the assertion operators, or not operators, but functions, sort of the canned assertions in the framework, but also because those are going to call the diff, but I guess that also doesn't necessarily mean I'm running all the tests against diff that I want to. Sorry, I can hear them. They sound close. But I guess I'll test the assertions. And what do I have in here? Test. Oh, I guess I did not have the name. Excuse me. Started with assertions. I apologize for like grunting so much. But I guess all this talking kind of dries out my throat. And so I constantly have to clear it. Maybe that just means I need to drink more water, but then I'll have to take more bathroom breaks. All right, so let's just see what, because these don't appear to be in any sort of logical order. You know, if I wasn't seeing them fly outside my window, I don't see them right now. I should probably just stop the stream and go up to my rooftop and watch them. Which maybe I should do that anyway. I'm obviously not getting a lot done right now. This has kind of turned into a kind of non-productive stream, I guess. Okay. I'm a little bit surprised this test still passes. Because I know PHP 8 or 8.1 changed the rules, or maybe it's going to happen in 8.2. I thought it changed the rules about what counts as a numeric string. Like previously, it's like, hey, there's a number here, so this becomes 3. But I thought there was a change where it says, well, there's other stuff in here, so there's no reason 3 bounds should actually be the number 3. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. So here's where we have an array comparison. And so we want to test greater. Right, this is test greater. Yeah, assert greater. It's right here. So this is going to fail. So we want to show that it is 1 and it needed to be over 2. And then 500 is greater than 3, so we just show 500. And then 5 is equal to 5, so we just show 5. And then 2 is less than 10, so we show that. So I guess we can also do this object versus array and array versus object. So I guess So test object versus array. Well, this will actually pass. Well, I guess I don't need to wrap this in a... I don't know what namespace I'm in. So let's see if that passes. Because according to this table, an object against anything is always greater. Oh, I guess I have that open in two places. So okay, so that passes. Okay, so that we found an array is not greater than anything. An array is not greater than a class or an object. So what is my setup here? So we expect a failure, and we do not. We're doing array versus object. So actual is an array. Or yeah, a minimum. So I feel like they are louder than I am talking, but I feel so. And maybe the mic has kicked in, but previously, not that I've run. You know, it's hard to run a scientific test on this, I guess, but the mic has not turned on just from jets flying over. It's only if I try and say something, all you hear is noise. So. Okay. So all this seems reasonable to me. So let's yank this. These should be the same results, I feel like. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if we want to also add a test case where the arrays are identical. So let's actually do that. I feel like I know this is what gets mildly annoying about these tests, or these are, excuse me, kind of persnickety cases, but test, I guess is going to be equal arrays. I suppose we get really fancy here. So actual is 1, 2, 3, 4.0 maybe, and minimum is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I won't actually change this just to see what we get for output. So yeah, so basically this is going to output what are we in here? Great. Oh, you know what? You know what? So what is my assertion? Test assert greater or equal. Copy pasta. Gotta watch out. I mean, I like pasta, but it's a little like cookies, right? Cookies are good, but floor cookies are bad. Pasta is good, but copy pasta is bad. Okay, is that all of it? No, this is also okay. The thing that actually compelled this whole change is the one thing I haven't changed. So, and I guess this is not right. That's not a failure. I'm gonna get a failure that two things failed now. So we now have 3 failures. Assert greater test equal arrays. Expected to catch, okay, but no exception is thrown. Yes. That is what we expected. I just did not. Write the correct test case. So we fixed that one. So what is wrong here? Where are we in? Test different arrays. So oh well, wait a minute. Oh yes, copy pasta. Copy pasta. It tells me right there. Which I guess, yeah, that's probably why that one failed too. Okay. Oof. Maybe I should have had more coffee. I don't know. I feel like this has been a struggle of a Sunday coding stream. Okay, so test. Oops. See, now I'm in the wrong window. Test array. Okay. So this is going to be test equal array. So this is going to be assert. Now this should fail. So actual is going to be strange test assert throws. We expect a strange test failure out of there. And then the function is going to be, yeah, oops. This comes down here, and then let's just yank that. And that's still going to fail because we should just have, well, I think I already ran this test. We should just have, right, the source array printed, which I think makes sense. This is going to be, oh, no, this is going to be 2. 2 is going to be 3, and 3 is going to be 4.0. So that is telling us this failed because if you look, actual and minimum are identical. I think that makes sense, right? Okay, so now I can yank all of this. So we've already done sorry, we've already done greater or equal. Yeah, I feel like Neovim updated that because one of the reasons I was putting, well, A, just to be consistent, but B, I thought one of the reasons I was starting to put this brace on its own line was if I try to bounce to the end, Neovim wanted me to actually be on the line with the brace. But anyway. the point of all that being, we've got these tests now for greater equal now. We want to do less. Okay, so this should fail. And maybe let's just do this sort of piecemeal here and comment these out. That's going to be, well, let's just run this to make sure. Yeah. Just this should be max now. So that passes. So we should be getting 1, 2, yeah, that is what we got. Okay, so now test. So greater, less, let's just change these while we're thinking about it. So I feel like want a case where this fails, right? So this should still work, I feel like, but what is actually going to fail is, so we're going to want to see, right, we're going to get 1. We're going to say 500 is not less than 3. Yeah, 5 is also not less than 5, but we're just going to show 5. And 2 is less than 10, so we're going to... So we have 215 tests. We should now have test assert less. No exception was thrown for that. Oh, so, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, PHP. Because, right, if I guess it's basically treating an array as like a list or a set, maybe. Set is tuple, I guess, is more accurate. So it only needs to check the first item. So that's maybe I want to keep these first items identical then. Let me think about this for a second. Which I guess means, well, I don't know if I actually need, I don't know if I actually need to test the case where comparing arrays passes. And this is maybe where I want to test against diff directly. I don't know, maybe not. It might just be worth having that test case in there. Everything may be getting covered already. So I guess, all right, I guess maybe I do want to do that though. So we'll test equal arrays. And so what is this here? We've got, oops, change array, less than array. So I do think I like, well, maybe keeping that first element the same. So let's change that to 2, and let's change that to 500, because this 2 being less than 3 means this is going to pass. And that's the test case right there. And then let's write another one. We're going to have array, well, I guess if we were trying to be alphabetical, we would put we would put array greater than array. So this is going to fail. So now let's put 503 there and 2 there. And let's spell greater correctly. And that's going to have some failures, but I just want to see what that looks like. So, well, I just said array. Yeah. Well, I did have 2 failures, but this one kind of sneaks under the radar because there's not like a diff that shows up, I guess. It just is, hey, this, nothing happened here. Okay, so I've inflicted more copy pasta on the world. So, I guess that was the only thing wrong there. Okay, so we're back to green, as they say. So let's come up, what do we have? Class test greater, let's... Oh, test assert greater, okay. So test array less than array. It's going to be array greater than array. And I guess there's no reason I can't use the same arrays I had before. But I've already, so array less than array, this needs to be 2, this needs to be 500. So this is greater than, so this is going to fail. And that's going to fail on 0, this will be fine. But this is going to fail on, actual is now 2. But minimum is 3. And it's okay that 500 is greater than 10. So that passed. And then greater assert array. Oh, so this is going to be, well, this should pass. So we're gonna put 500 there and 2 there. I guess I've decided that's what my array is going to be. So that should all still pass. Now, okay, I'm gonna have to This I guess I'll, what did I all copy? That. So now we're back to greater or equal. So we already have equal, I guess I didn't need to copy that. Oh, so test equal arrays. We'll just delete this out of here. Greater or equal. Greater or equal. So that should work, and then this should still, we've got to change that, but I think that still works. Okay, let me just take a little bit closer look here. So this is less because the 2 is less than the 3, but everything else is fine, and we're saying that test passed, and then that's fine. Okay. So I think I can, well, maybe not, I don't know. So equal arrays, test array, greater than array, test array, less than array. Okay, so back to here, and we're saying, I think we're saying this fails. And we'll get a strange test failure. And then our function is going to be oops. And our message is going to be so actual greater than min. I think that is what we're saying. Oops, assert throws. Oh, yes. Spelling the correct namespace would help. So test object. Oh, this is test assert. This is an assert less, right? Why is it saying I have where are we? 807. Assert. Oh, it's telling me I have min, but it wants max. Oops. Okay, and then this, I guess, should pass. So that passes. Insert true, assert truthy, assert unequal. Okay, so test equal arrays. Greater than array, less than array. I think everything should be more or less the same here, except equal arrays is going to pass. And we also need to change less to less or equal. Oops, but and in our failure messages, we want to update the operator. So what does that look like? So I guess I guess this output makes sense. I mean, I guess potentially one confusing thing in here. So if we put a 5 there and say 2 here, that's going to add actual is 5, but max is 2. And that is, right, that is the case, but it doesn't actually impact the overall comparison, right? I mean, comparison would stop, basically stops here. But maybe I want to include that in the test case anyway, just well, there's parasailers out there. Just to make that explicit for anybody that cares to look at the tests. Or that starts to fiddle around with things. So I think that's probably worth adding. And then unless, right, so I feel like after, basically what we want is after so we start with an equal value, then the second value will be the one that causes the comparison to fail. Then just to kind of see how things come out with the format, we want maybe equal value, a less than value, and then a greater than value. And then I suppose for, so that's greater than array. Am I calling the right function there? Yes, I am. All right. So we'll do the same thing here. That's going to pass though. Let me just test array less than array. Well, I broke test array. Oh, well, it would help if I 3, and this is going to be, oops, 500. Okay, so that still works. So truthy, unequal. So I feel like it's probably useful to have these in there. So this is going to pass, right? Yeah, and then this is going to fail up here. Well, and then this should fail. Test array less than array, test array greater than array. So this is going to be equal or test equal test. So let's just go up here to assert greater. So test equal arrays, test array less than array. This is that array is not less. That array is less. And that should fail just because we changed the array around. So one is, we actually got 3, min was 500, that's what it's saying. And then oops. Okay, so we actually got 2, but min was 10, and then 4 is going to be okay at 5. So right, is that 2 and 10 and then 5? Right. So this is gonna pass actually. That will pass. So now we're down here in greater equal. So greater equal. So that will pass, right? Yep. And then here, oh, now we're going to flip. Flip those, and then let's just make sure you get a failure there. Yep. So we actually had a 3, but we wanted 500. 2 was 5. 3 was... Now this is going to be a problem. Oops. 4 is okay at 5, but then we got a 2, but the minimum was 10. Okay, now we have assert less. We've already done that there. Assert greater than array, assert less than array, and then did we do this down here too? We did. So I guess that is our tests for that, and let me, you know what, let me just do a diff there, because I feel like so much bouncing around and stuff, test equal arrays. I wish this would show me class I'm in here, though. It tells me the function, but or does it? No, it doesn't even tell me that. Well, except the function is shown here. So test equal arrays, test less than array. Test greater than array. I guess I had enough in common here that it elided the, even though that's all within the same function. Okay, so this is all test array less than array, greater than array, object versus array, array versus object. Okay, I'm just, that diff I find is not actually being as helpful as. So identical, assert throws, assert equal, assert different, assert false, falsy, greater. Here's where we want to go. So greater, test equal arrays, test less than array, test greater than array, or array greater than array, assert object versus array, and then array versus object. So greater equal, test equal arrays, less than array, array greater than array, array or object versus array, and array versus object. All right, assert less. Test equal arrays, that fails. Test array greater than array, that fails. Test array less than array, test object versus array, test array versus object. And then finally have assert equal or less. Test equal arrays. What did I say? Assert equal or less? Less or equal. Test array greater than array. Test array less than array. Test array versus object. So I feel like that all makes sense, and the formatting we get out of there makes relatively sense. I suppose one could nitpick about, right, this is the only comparison that determines the relationship of the two arrays, but we also show that, and I suppose, I don't know how much I actually care about that. That arguably our algorithm could be a little bit smarter not to show that. I don't know. And I suppose it's okay. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone there. Seeing the parents tonight, and they're texting me, so I may have to jump off and take care of that. What was I? I was in the middle of a thought too. Oh, I guess I was just saying it's arguably a little weird that this isn't like flagging, but right, because it's a less than comparison, I would say that makes sense. But then on the flip side, right, I guess what makes this a little strange is, right, this is supposed to be strictly less than, so we're not showing, right, 1 is obviously not less than 1. And I guess, right, we're showing this on equal arrays. That's the whole point of this test. We're saying actual needs to be less than max, and we're saying these are identical. So that might be a little bit weird. But I guess, like I said last night, it's kind of an interesting place to be in, to even sort of be able to look at this and decide, is this what we want? But part of that, I guess, also depends on, like, I guess I am fine with this. Like, I would find this helpful, but it's one of those things where, without anybody else using the framework, it's hard to tell what the right answer is, because I don't know that there's actually a right answer. Anyway, with this done, and I guess I didn't actually do any diff coding, I just tested it. Yeah, edit source diff. I guess I can take this to do out. Let me check this table real quick. So I'm not particularly concerned about these scalar types. See, strings and resources get translated into numbers. Like, that's all very straightforward. Objects are not supposed to be compared, so I don't really want to write a test for that, because who knows what that's going to do. And I think it's just, I feel like I know what that's going to look like. And these all go to scalar. So it's just this kind of array comparison that could get a little weird. So I guess I will take out this to do. Maybe I'll just leave in a link to this table, because I feel like this node is worth keeping in here, but I'll put this down here by the constants maybe. So it might be worth, as a formatting instruction, not necessarily an actual comparison. Although having this link down here, comparison operation is a formatting instruction, not necessarily an actual comparison instruction, meaning that equal values should be formatted as being the same, even though they may not satisfy the given comparison operation. Reference the comparison of different types of values. how different types of values are compared is described as. So because I have stuff going on for parents later, I think this may actually be the stream today. So I'm sorry there wasn't, if anybody was actually looking to dive into the details of how a diff algorithm works or how it's implemented in my framework. I apologize for disappointing, but I kind of got derailed on screwing up GitHub, and the air shows kind of distracted me a little bit, and well, sometimes some days are not as productive as other ones. This is the takeaway there. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm on the right branch. Generation for driven operations. This is not going to fit within test the formatting for less than and greater than operators, basically. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna call it there. It has turned into a beautiful day. I hope if anybody's watching me, it's also a beautiful day. Also a beautiful day where you're at, and if not, a bad day, I guess, is better than no day at all. But I appreciate you lurking, and I'll probably be back to mess around with diffs and actually get into the actual diff algorithm more now that I have a good feeling for how this change is working. So wherever you are, if either have a good morning or a good afternoon or a good evening or a good night, and take care of yourself. And I guess, well, I won't see you next time, but you'll probably see me. So cheers.